I'm good at music. I know there's a lot more to learn. It's something that I love to do, so I do it all the time. Every man is my superior in some way.
Thank you once again for coming to Inspiring Noya. Today I got my main man, Austin Craichy from We Want More. Austin, thank you for being on the show.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
Ah, man, thanks a lot. Awesome, man. Let's just get right into it. The other day I went to one of your concerts and your show. The energy was bananas. I loved it, like, loved it. So, how does it feel to be on stage, man?
It is the best thing ever. Like it's literally the best thing ever. Stoked you made
Yeah.
it out to that show. That was our first one since COVID. So, but dude, just when the crowd's energy is that high and we're bringing it too, like it's otherworldly, honestly. And to be performing songs we've been working so hard on, and releasing those and seeing such great feedback from the audience, like it's a very special thing, and I'm super grateful how it went down, and for I think I have the best job in the world, the coolest job in the world. So
Dude, it was sick. I mean, to get paid just to sing, if I had that talent, I'll probably be doing it myself.
for real, bro.
But so awesome. Like the podcast is inspiring. It's all about inspiring people who love, leave, serve others. I know you personally. You're an amazing guy who loves to love. You lead people, you serve them.
I
But
got you, bro.
like, I want the guests to know a little bit about you. Like, where's Austin from? How did he grow up? All that
Yeah,
good
yeah. Well,
stuff.
I'm from Tampa, Florida originally. A little island off of downtown called Davis Island. It was just a
Okay.
paradise to grow up in. It was very low crime, kind of small town feel. You can ride your bike around as a little kid to the baseball fields, or the playgrounds, or the bay, all that kind of stuff. So, dude, and it was right on that brink of technology, like being so prevalent now. There was
Yeah.
obviously no iPhones and stuff, and we had to ask permission to play Xbox growing up, that kind of life. So we're outdoors on this island just with the neighborhood kids. Like it really couldn't have been better, man. I was just very blessed, very blessed. So
It's something that. So here you going. You're going to Tampa. And you guys moved to Orlando, right? And how did you guys started this band?
dude,
We want more.
it kind of just happened. So growing up, my goal was to be a professional football player, and didn't.
Okay.
I mean, music was always in the home. My mom was Miss Florida, and she went to college for classical piano. So she gave the gift of music to all of her kids. So I have um, five siblings, and then plus one. Actually, no, I didn't. I got five
Yeah.
siblings. But yeah, so she gave us that gift from such a young age, where she taught us how to play the keys, the piano, and that's what I do, every single day now, which is amazing how just it all works out like that. But so she trained us since we were five. We would go and go to other professors to learn music and stuff like that, and it was really amazing. Picked up a couple instruments along the way, but getting back to it, I wanted to be a professional football player. So I played since I was little all the
Yeah.
way up until junior year. Decided junior year it wasn't for me. Tired of the politics and all that stuff, and wanted something different. So I went into wakeboarding, which is basically like snowboarding behind a boat.
How was
It was
that
fantastic.
experience?
I would ride, 4 or 5 times a week and just love it. But then I learned that there was zero money in the sport at the time, and I knew a lot of the best of the best.
Now, when you mean at the time, what you mean at the time when you started?
Well, it's a relatively new sport, and it's evolved a lot over even since I started. Like I think it's in the past decade or two where it's actually become a sport. So I knew a lot of the top guys at the time, and they were still struggling to meet rent. So I was like, man, you're the best in your field, and you still like. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it for fun. I'm not gonna do it as a career. And then one night we were having a Bible study at my house, and it would range from probably 20 people to 100 people depending on the night. We had a lot of musicians, so we'd all jam out afterwards. And basically, there was this guy who came, and he came back. He heard us sing, me, Kyle, and Johnny. He came back the next day and he said, "Guys, I really feel from the Lord that the three of you need to go meet my friend in Nashville. He's a Grammy Award winning producer. Um, I really feel like y'all need to record these your vocals and release it to the world." And we're like, "Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, cool." So we looked into it. 2 weeks later, we're up in Nashville.
Yeah.
We recorded two singles up there. 2 weeks after that, we recorded two music videos. So within a month, we went from just jamming out, after a Bible study, to doing it professionally and having product. And then it's just been an evolution from there, man. It's been crazy. It's
That's
been crazy.
crazy. That's what is your favorite part of the journey? Like while you guys are going through this process.
My absolute favorite part is performing on stage, probably number one. And then right up there with it is creating a new song. Like that's just the best thing in the world to me, where I can just get in that creative zone, that creative space, and just create something out of nothing. Like that's to me that's the ultimate form of creation. There's a
How do you feel when you're creating a song? Like give us the details. Like what's going through your head? Like what's going on when you're creating
dude,
that
I'm really
song?
just I'm trying to be a vessel. So like a lot of times I write out of personal experience. So like these emotions and stuff, they're already
Okay.
in me, right? They're already a part of me. And I look at music creation and being able to write a song, I look at that as a superpower because a lot of people, to manage their emotions or their whatever they're going through, all this stuff, they'll turn to alcohol, they'll turn to Netflix binging, they'll turn to food or drugs or whatever it might be, just to kind of you know suppress or numb or kind of just manage those emotions, because a lot of people don't, like, these emotions are strong things and we all feel them, and a lot of times we don't know how to process them. But for me,
Gotcha.
I'm able to process them by putting them into a song. Something I'm going through, or I'm feeling like
Mm.
really strong. I'm able to just like come in here. I'm sitting at my keyboard right now, my piano, and I'm able to come in here and just like start playing some chords, and then find like a progression that I like. Start singing vocals on it, and it just like starts flowing from there. It's like when you're able to tap into the subconscious and kind of get your mind out of the way, and just let your emotion sing
Yeah.
or create. That's when the best work happens, and it's effortless at that point. Like a lot of people mention the state of flow.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Now tell me something. When you are like you said, getting tapping in and your subconscious, like when do you know when you're in that state of flow? Like has there ever been a time that you're trying to do music and you know you're not tapping into that gift, that potential, whether it's spiritual, like
Yeah,
what's going
well,
on? How do you get in
there's
that zone?
definitely levels to the flow, right? There's only
Okay.
been a couple songs, thankfully, that have basically got me stuck. I wrote them a while ago, and I was trying to get back to them, and I'll progress them a little bit, but it's not quite where it needs to be, type of thing. So that definitely happens on occasion.
Mhm.
But I find that when you
Yeah.
do something often enough with passion,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
get good at it, and you're able
Hmm.
to basically get back in that state more quickly because you're used to it, right? And you're exercised into it. It's like exercising a muscle in the gym, where let's say you're benching a certain amount, and it starts to feel easy, and then you can put more onto it. It feels easy. But let's say you take a month off in the gym, and then you come back in, that weight's gonna feel a lot harder, right? So it's just kind
Yeah.
of it's something that I love to do, so I do it all the time. I do it every day. I'm in the studio right now. That's where I'm coming from right now, and I basically live in here because I live and breathe it. I love it. So
Tell me what would you say is your biggest failure?
biggest failure, I'd say I have a lot of them. I have,
Okay,
but
well,
something I don't like to do is live with regret, because I believe that everything happens for a reason, and it all works out better than expected every time. And how long is this podcast, this interview?
it's gonna be maybe like max
I got
25
a valuable
minutes.
story. It's like a couple minutes long.
Yeah,
So
go
there's
go
this
for it, bro.
This ancient Chinese parable changed my life. So I'll kind of do the nutshell version. So we're gonna go back to ancient China, and there's this rancher,
Okay.
right? He has this farm, and uh, he's got this whole team. He lives in this small town. Everybody knows each other, and so basically, his dream was to own a black stallion, like a purebred black stallion. It was his dream since he was a little boy, and his parents were telling him, "All right, if that's your goal, you just have to work hard and go get it. Make enough money, sell enough crops, and go get it." So over his lifetime, 30, 40, 50, he finally gets to a place working every single year, every harvest, to where he has enough money to go down to the market and buy a black stallion. And word gets around fast in small towns, and all the townspeople come down to the market to support him, to see him acquire his dream. So he goes down to the market. This beautiful black horse comes in. Everyone's buzzing. They're all talking to each other. Wow, that's even better than we anticipated. And he puts down the money. He says, "I'll take it." Everybody cheers. They go, they go ballistic. They're like, "Yeah, like success. He did it. He did it." He's riding his horse all the way back. The crowd's following him, chanting all this stuff. He gets it back. He's the happiest man
Yeah.
in the world. He puts it in the stable. He's just the crowd eventually leaves. Everyone's congratulating him. He puts it in the stable. He's just looking at it like, man, I did it. All those years of hard work. This is the physical success of what I had in my mind, what I wanted. And he'd go down every single night. He'd brush it. He'd feed it. He'd just look at it. He'd ride it. He said, "This is the most beautiful thing in the world." One night he went down and he was shocked because the lock was busted open and the gate was wide and the horse was nowhere to be found. And he
Wow.
immediately, he yelled to his friends and family. Everyone went on a search party, went out looking for it, couldn't find it. They looked for it the entire night, couldn't find it. They looked the next day, couldn't find it. All the townspeople came to him and said, "This great success, this great fortune that you had, it turned to this horrible misfortune. How terrible is that?" And he said, "Maybe." A couple weeks after that, he was back in the field.
Hmm.
He's like, "Man, it didn't work out that time. I'm gonna have to just do it again. I'm gonna have to work as hard as I can, make all this money, and just do it again. It wasn't supposed to be at that time." So he's out in the field, he's plowing, he's pushing the ox, and one day he looks up on the horizon and he sees his horse running back over the horizon with 7 wild horses following it. It runs into the stable, all the other horses file in, he shuts the door behind it, and he locks it extra good. And all the townspeople heard about it real quick. And they came out and they said, "Oh my goodness, your great misfortune has turned into great fortune. How incredible." And he said, "Maybe."
Yeah.
Shortly after that, one of his sons, his eldest son, um, let me see if I'm getting this right. Yeah, shortly after that, his eldest son is riding one of these new wild horses trying to break it in. He's riding it and it kicks him off into the fence and snaps his leg in half. And all the townspeople came out and said, "Wow, this great fortune you had turned into such great misfortune. How terrible." And he said, "Maybe." Shortly after that, the emperor of the land was drafting all the able bodied young men from the region to send to
Okay.
a causeless war. He came to his farm. He saw his son with his leg snapped in a splint. They went to the next farm. All the townspeople came and said, "Wow, this great misfortune turned into such great fortune. How incredible." And he said, "Maybe."
Maybe.
The moral of the story is, us as humans, it would be so naive to believe that we know what is best for us. We don't
Wow.
know. The best thing in the world can be the
Okay.
worst thing. If you win the lottery, you buy a jet and it crashes and you die. Was that a good thing? Was that a blessing or not a blessing? Yeah,
Oh,
right?
for sure. It was a curse.
So
Nah, I
we
got
never
you.
know. Even if things look to
Wow.
be the best thing in the world, they might not be. Or if they look to be the worst thing in the world, it could be right back to the best thing in the world. So I like to look at failures like that. It's like I try and learn from them, but still have that maybe mentality to where I know that. All things
Wow.
work out better than expected every single time. And I've seen that a million times in my life. And it's just fact to me because I've seen it a million times. So that's the way I look at failure. It's like, man, what
Wow. When did you hear that
you know,
story?
I would love to remember. I have no idea. It might have been Alan Watts. Have you heard of him?
Okay.
One of my
No,
favorite
never.
minds. He's so deep that he's like sometimes a little too deep, but you can just glean some incredible stuff from him. He's a philosopher. It may have been from him. That's where I would send you. But just
Wow,
changed my life.
that's crazy. Yeah, you know what I learned was sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. Kind of like what you said, and the role of maybe. But it's just crazy because I love, like I always call you Mr. Proverbs. You always would say something significant. And I'm like, oh, you get me thinking. And one of my favorite quotes that you always say is Einstein about someone being superior. Could you
Every
say
man
it?
is my superior in some way.
Wow, and we
Every
forget
man.
that.
So what that induces is humility. Because a lot of people,
Hmm.
they think, "Oh, I'm good in music. I'm good in music," and then I put everybody else down in their fields because I think I know it all. It's like I don't know it all. I'm good in music. I know there's a lot more to learn. I know there's a lot more people who know more than me. But every man is my superior in some way. If that's
Wow,
basket
that's
weaving,
true.
if that's loading a truck with something, if that's in the gym, if you keep that humble mentality, that's how you get blessed, and that's how you learn, and that's how you grow. So that's where I want to stay for my entire life.
So you want to be always ever growing, never think you got it all down pat, you
It's
got it.
naive,
Like, hey, what more could I learn?
always, yeah, always. And how you treat people too is a direct reflection of yourself. It's the reflection of how much you value yourself. Because the way I look at myself, and this is why I got back in the gym recently too. I'm trying to be impressive visually and physically because I look at myself as the temple of God. Right? I believe God
Okay.
dwells in me and dwells in you. And if we look at ourselves as a temple to house the highest form of power in all of creation and all of existence, like we better be impressive. Because I look back to the ancient temple that the Hebrews were instructed to build. They had exact specifications. They had exact measurements, exact materials, all the finest, woods, metals, gold, all this stuff to make it impressive because was to house God, right? But now I believe that we are supposed to house God and we are the temples of God.
Wow,
So let's make it impressive. Let's do what we can do to bring
it's
glory,
crazy.
bring glory to Him.
So who's your hero?
I would say it's a good question. Hero is a strong word because that means that they save, like they save you or they save the day. I don't know if they're. I
Mhm.
definitely have people that I look up to, role models, stuff like that. I would say my dad has been a big one. I'd say David from the Bible. He's
Okay.
probably one of my highest role models. He was a warrior musician. That's about the coolest thing you could be, and a king. Um, and definitely his son Solomon, who wrote the Proverbs or the most of the Proverbs. That's
Uh-huh.
really that's some of the people I look up to for sure. It's people I want to be like.
What would you say was the worst advice and the best advice you ever
Mm,
received?
you got the great questions, Elliot. You're making me think here.
I'm trying. I'm
Damn,
trying.
bro. Um, Worst advice. All right, this is kind of funny. This one. I grew up with one of my best buddies. His name's Chase Russell,
Okay.
and we went to preschool together. And he's just been a freak when it comes to anything athletic or like extreme skateboarding, wakeboarding, gymnastics, all that kind of stuff. So, I will always try to glean what I can from him in those areas. And one day I was like, all right, you know what? I want to learn how to do a backflip. Like I feel like I'm physically able to. I have the athleticism. I just don't know how. I don't know the technique. I don't know the mentality
Now, backflip on the
on the
water or
ground.
just like
Yeah, on the
on
ground.
the
On the
ground?
ground.
Wow, yeah, because I used to think I could do a backflip on the water. I did like two of them, and then the third time I hit my head in the
I've
pool.
done that.
So yeah, from there I stopped.
I've done that. All right. So I'm like, yo, Chase, I want to learn how to do a backflip. I know you can do them. Can you teach me? He's like, yeah, sure, bro. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna learn how to do a backflip. We go outside and get on some grass. You know, you want it to be soft the first couple of times. And he's like, all right, so what you want to do? Yeah, I gotta stand up for this. He's like, all right, here,
Okay.
what you want to do? You want to like get ready, and then you just do it. That was his advice. He's like, you get ready and you do it. I was like, bro, that was 0% helpful. I appreciate that from like a hype standpoint, like, yeah, just do it. Or like, yo, I need some
Yeah.
technique or I'm gonna land on my head, you know, that type of thing. So I was like, man, I
Wow.
just gotta. I went and like watched some YouTube videos and got some technique down, and then he hyped me up with that technique, and I got it. So that
You
was like
got
the
it.
worst advice. He's like, all right, just get ready, and then just do it. I was like, bro, that's not good advice.
Chase he is crazy. He's
Dude, he's
funny though. I
incredible.
like him. I love him
He's
a
incredible,
lot. He's like probably the life of the party when you with him.
dude, for sure. Oh, for sure, bro, I love that guy.
Man,
But
how long you guys been
since
friends?
preschool. So I don't know how
Wow,
old that is, like 5 or 6, something like that. But dude, just,
wow,
just a
that's
blessing, man.
amazing. So, so that's the worst advice. What was the best advice you ever got, Austin?
Dude, that is a great question. I would say probably just the Book of Proverbs. Um,
Okay.
one of my favorites is Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. So when you seek God first and how He wants you to live, He brings the success, He brings the riches, He brings the health, He brings the connections, He brings all this stuff. But that's have to put in Him first. You know. So
Wow.
Matthew six
Okay.
thirty
That
three.
love.
That's amazing. And then the Proverbs is just like mind blowing. It's the Proverbs has changed my life because I look at it as directly tutoring under the wisest man to ever live, who is King Solomon, and
Okay.
it's his
Wow.
direct writings. So it's him teaching you how you should live your life, the do's, the don'ts, and the whys, which is big for me because when people say, "Oh yeah, don't do that," I'm the kind of guy who's like, "Well, why not?"
That's me. That's me
Like,
100%. I'm always
yeah,
questioning.
that's some great advice too. Question everything because once you do that, you understand your view stronger, or you change your view to another belief that's stronger. There's one of two things. But the Bible says, you know, the what is that verse? Basically, to layman's term, it's the gold can stand the test. If it's gold, if it's
Wow.
true gold, it can stand the flames, it can stand the fire, it can stand the questioning, and then you'll still have gold at the end. If it's not gold, it's just gonna melt and get destroyed,
Wow.
right? So gold can
Wow.
stand.
Yeah, 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 for sure.
So yeah, bro, that's just it's all a learning experience. You know, I have so much more to learn. I don't claim to know it all. I just know I'm happy with where I've come from and where I've progressed to. And I still see like the man I want to be still in the future, but all we have is today.
Yeah.
So
And sometimes, even sometimes of what you're doing that you don't know you got it all figured out, but you're just pursuing the best version of yourself. Sometimes you're like, hey, this is the best version. And then when you get to a certain spot, you're like, no, I can do way more than that. I could be way better. Like, then it's like you're breaking out of your comfort zone. You're like, nah, I can even push
come
this
on, bro.
further. When you're in that mindset of always trying to grow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it never ends. Till the day we die, it never ends. Because every
What?
man is my
Go
superior in
ahead.
some way.
For
Coming back
sure.
to it.
Yeah, I love that quote. Yeah. What would you say is so I have before we start taking this plane down, like the question of what gifts do you want to give to the world when you die?
Hmm,
And then what do you want to be known as your legacy?
it's awesome. I would say first is I would say music is going to be a big part of it. Obviously, it's what I do. It's what I love, and it's definitely a big part of my destiny. And what I want to bring through the music is freedom. I want people to hear my songs and think about none of their problems. You know, just feel such a peace when they're hearing these sounds, and just like a good feeling is what I want them to feel. And music lasts forever. You know, as long as there's electricity, there's going to be music. And even without electricity, you know, Spotify, all that stuff. Without electricity, there's still going to be music. You know, people
Yeah,
were
for
making
sure.
music from the dawn of time. So that's definitely a big part of my legacy. I want to. I got a lot in mind for sure. There's a lot of businesses that I'm uh, going to have in the future, and in the process of working on right now, and all that stuff. I obviously want an amazing family. I want to be a beacon as well to people, a beacon like a lighthouse that in the dark that just says, "Be yourself." You know, find out
Wow,
what
come
you
on.
want to do and go for it because we got one life on this earth. If we're working 9 to 5 and we die, I mean, what kind of existence is that? You know, what kind of life spent is that? And
Wow.
so I just want to inspire people to chase their dreams, chase your dreams. People watching, be you unapologetically, and try and get better every day because that's to me that's just the best way to live.
Wow. So what inspires you, man? Like what inspires Austin these days? Because I know it's always constantly ever changing, but what inspires you these days?
Everyday life, man. My brothers, they inspire me. Um, Different people I meet, situations I'm in, like I'm always trying to glean. I'm always trying to observe. I'm a very passionate guy too. So if I'm in something, like I'm in it. You know, I'm like I'm all about it. If that's sports, if that's riding motorcycles, if that's going to the gym, like I'm about it. I'm here. I'm doing it. You know, so I think that passion allows me to be inspired by many things, especially these real life scenarios and situations, even with women or romantically and stuff like that. Like it's just inspirational, a lot of it, because I know that the feelings that I feel, there's what 7 billion people on Earth now. There's probably
Yeah.
hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people who are feeling those exact same things. You know, so if I can superhero express those into sound and them connect to it, it's the coolest thing in the world. And
Wow,
check
wow,
this
wow.
out right
That's
here,
how.
bro. This blew my mind the other day. Uh,
Okay.
I believe that we're created in the image of God, right? You believe that too.
Okay.
What I believe that means is we are created in the image of the Creator to create.
Yeah. Agree.
Even to go farther than that, to create as He created, which is through speech. He spoke it all into existence, right? So there's an ancient Latin phrase called ex nihilo, and it means out of
Okay.
nothing. And
Wow.
the only way we as humans can create something out of nothing is through our voice. It's
Wow. Wow. No matter what you're doing, you have to use
you
your
have to.
voice.
So it's obviously thoughts originate what we say for the most part, right? But we have to think about it and then speak it into existence. So that's why I'm so freaking stoked with what I'm doing, producing music, making music, is because it's all ex nihilo. All the vocals are ex nihilo. It's out of nothing. You know, so that's like, I think that's why most people aren't happy as well. Because I was talking to one of my buddies the other day about this, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'm just not happy." And I asked him, I was like, "Bro, when was the last time you created something?" He's like, "I don't
Wow.
think I've ever created anything in my life." I said, "Bro, that's your problem. That's why you're not happy because we're created to create, procreate, even have make families, all this kind of stuff. But we're created to create. If that's
So he even created. his unhappiness, kind of in a
That's
way,
deep, bro. That's,
right? Because he's
that's
unhappy.
deep. But
It's crazy.
if that's creating a business, if that's creating a podcast, if that's creating a YouTube channel, if that's creating some small change in your world, making somebody's day brighter intentionally, you're creating that feeling in them. That's where we get fulfilled, by creating something. If that's art,
Wow.
if it's whatever, and that's a recent realization that I had. But to me, it just hits completely home, because when I'm out of the studio for a while, if I'm just working, doing something else, I feel it. I don't feel as like energized and fulfilled and full. And the thing is, you have to do things that make you happy to be happy. It's as simple as that.
Agree. Because even one of your hobbies or some things that you love to do is, bro, you're a biker. So you love fixing bikes. Most people wouldn't even want to go through the headache of getting this bike, fixing it up, making it custom. But dude, every time you're in the garage, you're like super
Oh
happy.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, there's points of frustration too, but when you're doing things that you enjoy, that fills you, and from your place of fullness, you're able to fill other people. So
Wow,
it's so important
that is
that you have to
crazy.
take time for you to do the things that you enjoy, things that fill you up with life, and from there you can fill others with life. Because we're no good if we're empty, if we're depressed, if we're
Yeah.
tired, if we're just like, oh, I just want to go home. We're no good to anybody. So you have to take
Uh,
time to do things you're passionate about that make you feel alive, fill you up with life, and then you fill others from there.
Wow, man, Austin, it's always amazing spending time with you, man, and just a gift you are to the world. And
Thank
I
you,
and
bro.
and man, I just can't wait to see what in 5, 10 years from now when I can look back to this podcast and see where you're at
Yeah,
already.
bro.
I know you guys already got over 1 million views. Where could people find you, Austin? Where could people know about you
Absolutely.
or connect with you?
Connect with me at American Musician on Instagram, and then definitely
Okay,
check out my band. We're called We Want More, and the band page is We Want More Official on Instagram, on all that stuff, YouTube. But that's where you can find me. That's my passion right there. That's part of my destiny. So be pleased
come on,
if you'll
man.
join me for the ride. It's gonna be a good time.
Come on. Austin, thank you so much for coming to Inspiring Warrior Podcast. Love you so much,
Love you,
man.
brother.
Guys, this is another episode. Follow him. Love you and God
Bless you, bro.
bless.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.